guys, our last 3D shape is a sphere. So, sphere, the volume formula for a sphere, which is on the reference sheet, is volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So this one is a lot different than what we've seen. We have a 4/3 and we have an r cubed in this one. So let's take a look at how this works. So example 1, find the volume in terms of pi. So the volume would be 4/3 pi 3 cubed. So as a reminder, if it is in terms of pi, you do not put pi in the calculator. 4/3 you can use alpha y equals, or you can simply do 4 divided by 3, whatever you wish, times 3. Now cubed is this caret, and you put a 3 in there. So it would look like that, 4/3 times 3 cubed. So it would be 36 pi for number 1. And then if you are going to put a label, centimeters cubed. Okay, the next one's to the nearest tenth. Volume equals 4/3 pi. In this case, the radius is 5 cubed. So this time, we type the whole thing in. 4/3, we type the pi, and we're doing 5 raised to the 3rd power. So to the nearest tenth, 523.6. Okay, this down here, if it is half of sphere, okay, these are called hemispheres. Okay, so that wording could be used. So that's basically, we're going to do the formula, but we're going to divide it by 2. So we're going to do 4/3 pi 2 cubed. We'll hit enter, and then we'll divide the whole thing by 2. So we would do 4/3 pi 2 cubed. Oops. You can actually right here just click divided by 2, and that would work as well. Okay, so that's what it would be, except I didn't read the instructions properly. We're doing in terms of pi. So let's try this again. We're going to retype that whole thing in without the pi. So I'm going to delete that pi in there. We don't want that. Okay, I'm going to get 5.333, so I'm going to math, enter, enter, turn that back into a fraction. So I'm going to get 16/3. So basically we can write that as 16/3, and then we can just attach the pi on to the end of it. Okay, this one is nearest tenth. Volume equals 4/3 pi 10 cubed divided by 2. So as you saw what I did before, you can type this whole thing in divided by 2, and it would be 2094.4 centimeters cubed. Okay, along the bottom here is just some practice, so if you want to pause and try these on your own, otherwise I'm just going to go through these. So 2 spheres at the bottom. Number 1, volume equals 4/3 pi times 3 cubed. It is in terms of pi, so you do not put pi in the calculator. You wind up with 36 pi. Next one, volume equals 4/3 pi 6 cubed. It's to the nearest tenth, so we type that whole thing in. We get 904.8 centimeters cubed. Okay, this last one, a little interesting. This is a hemisphere and a cylinder. So we could label these if we wanted to, shape 1, shape 2. So the volume of shape 1 from another day that we did cylinders is pi r squared h. So that's about 251.3. It's a decimal. And then if we do the hemisphere, it would be 4/3 pi 4 cubed divided by 2, and that's going to be about 134.04 ... In total, rounded to the nearest tenth, 385.4 centimeters cubed. Okay, the back or the next sheet, we have a couple word problems. A solid sphere has a volume of 36 pi. Find the radius of the sphere. Okay, so the formula, volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. The volume is 36 pi, 4/3 pi r cubed. If there's a pi on both sides, you can get rid of it. Okay, if there's not, then we got to keep it in there and work with this. We can get rid of that. The best way to get rid of a fraction is to times it by the reciprocal, which is 3/4. So I'm going to get rid of that. This comes out to be 27 is equal to r cubed. So this is something new. The opposite of something squared is to take the square root. The opposite of something cubed is called the cube root. So where do we find that on our calculator? It's under the math button, and it is choice 4. And you see it puts a little 3 by the square root symbol. And then we type in a 27, and we get the answer of 3. So the radius is equal to 3. So we'll write that down. How did we get the cube root? We type in math, and then we pick choice 4, and then it shows this little guy on our screen. Okay, number 5. An ice cream cone is 11 centimeters deep and 5 centimeters across the opening of the cone. 2 hemisphere-shaped scoops of ice cream, which also have diameters of 5 centimeters, are placed on top of the cone. If the ice cream were to melt into the cone, would it overflow? So basically we want to figure out the volume of the ice cream, the volume of the cone, and see if it melted, if it was going to overflow. So first over here, I'll do the cone. So the cone formula is 1/3 pi r squared h from the last video lesson. So if we plug in 1/3 pi, the radius is 2.5 because it's 5 centimeters across the whole thing, so half of that would be the radius, and the height is 11. This is about 71.9. Now, because there are 2 hemisphere-shaped scoops of ice cream, that's really just one sphere. So we're using the sphere formula. 4/3 pi r cubed is the sphere formula. So volume is equal to 4/3 pi 2.5 cubed. We type that all in, and we get 65.45. So this is the volume. If it melts into here, will it overflow? No, because there's more room in the cone than ice cream, volume of ice cream. Okay, and our last one for sphere. This is from an old Regents exam. Randy's basketball is in the shape of a sphere with a circumference of 29.5 inches. Determine and state the volume of the basketball to the nearest cubic inch. Okay, so if we wrote the volume of a sphere formula, we'd wind up with this. Okay, the problem is they don't directly give us the radius, so I need to figure this radius out. But they do give us the circumference. So if you go to your reference sheet, you're going to see this formula on your reference sheet. Circumference equals pi times diameter. They told us the circumference was 29.5. So I can divide both sides by pi, and that will tell me the diameter. So 29.5 divided by pi gives me a diameter of about 9.39. And you would simply divide that by 2 to get a radius of approximately 4.7. That's going to go in here. Now when I do this volume though, I'm going to make sure I use the unrounded radius. So 4/3 pi, I'm going to go and grab this, and I'm going to make it cubed. And then I can round this final answer to the nearest cubic inch. So it'd be 434 inches cubed. Okay, that's it for spheres.